Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast Bob from Oceanside, California, our host hotel, the beautiful Mission Pacific. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by MasterSpas. SFuels go longer. HOKA Let's Fly, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation, the 2021 Oceanside 70.3 champion, Mr. Ben Kanute, joins us. How you doing, Benny?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure, man. We go back a few years.
Yeah, a few years for sure. I know, and it's been a few months now. Last time was in St. George, so it's good to be back.
And what was cool about that is we chatted a bunch of times last year, and it was like you knew you were right there. The training was there, and just the results weren't quite where you want them to be. But in St. George, everything seemed to come together.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough year, I'd say. I started off the year here in Oceanside, in Miami just before, and they were okay races. Yeah. They were solid, saw some progress, but just had from pretty much May all the way through September was just underperforming and pretty much trying to build fitness and everything. And, there's a lot of different reasons, but just didn't feel like I was racing to my potential. And finally, everything kind of coincided and or collided in St. George where, mental, physical preparation, all of that, and finally got to show what I've been waiting to show everybody all year.
Yeah, well, we've been chatting about it. It was like, and I talked to Jim Vance, your coach, and he's like, this is going to be the day. This is going to be the day. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And also being a parent, your kids tend to come home with little sicknesses, and you can end up just not being quite right on race day.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was kind of double. It was a little bit of going in too hot to Chattanooga early in the year, just didn't rest as much. Kind of the training we were doing, we were resting on demand, and we figured out if my body is showing signs of needing rest, we're a little too late. Like I'm already kind of digging a hole. So there's a little bit of that. And then, we just had a couple sicknesses run through our houses. And it was just, it took a while for me to build back. And it was one of those things, though, where it was, the Edmonton PTO race, Dallas, Collins Cup, all of those kind of were as I was building fitness back and I could see some progress, but I was just not fully seeing it in the results. So it was frustrating and mentally tough, but I was able to, trust in the training and be able to put it together when it really counted.
What we've seen over the years is people get attached to the moment, and they go, I had a crappy race, I'm switching coaches, I'm doing this, I'm becoming vegan. People tend to panic, right? And you've been one of those guys who has stayed the course. You've changed from being a 2016 Olympian, you've got it then changed and going and getting second at 70.3 Worlds back then in Chattanooga. You've adapted over time, but you've always, I think maybe because you got into sports so young, you sort of knew, you got to stay the course because good things will happen to people who stay patient.
Exactly, and I think it comes a lot with Jim and I's coaching relationship and having that trust and having a plan that I fully believe in. And, if I had, issues with it or if I felt something isn't right, Jim and I always kind of talk and we collaborate, we make sure things that we're both feeling confident. And it's one of those great things about, the coach-athlete relationship, and that I really look for is somebody that I trust, who knows what they're doing and who I can, have a bit of a sounding board on, and we can collaborate and make sure that we're on the right track. Because when it comes down to it, if you don't trust in what you're doing, it's not going to show up on race day.
One of the thing that I think makes you very special is the variety. Like we said, you were a mixed relay specialist, 2016 Olympian, Alcatraz champion 4 times, 70.3 world championship, silver medalist twice. That's a pretty wide range of racing and success. Did you get that feel early on that, I want to sort of do everything? And then this year you jumped into an Ironman for the first time. Talk a little bit about what do you see as your best distance? What do you see as something that you want to specialize in, or do you like being this guy who can pretty much do anything?
I've always liked a challenge, and I think it's, my physiology lends itself more to middle and long distance racing. Yeah. And, I think that the super sprint is just interesting enough where it can be a strength race too, where you are going all out, but a lot of times it's, right under the red line or right at the limit. And for me, I just kind of like hanging out, at one solid steady pace for a long time. And some of the other stuff, like the race dynamics, it was really like super spiky. And that's just something that when I was racing that, I had to put a lot of effort into to be able to handle all those spikes. So I've always enjoyed it. I love racing Super League races. I'm still looking for an opportunity to make it back. And yeah, everything with their arena games, or they've got a race in Malibu. I heard they bought Chicago and New York.
And Chicago, New York.
Yeah,
yes.
So I'm always looking for an opportunity, because it's just, I love that suffering in those races, just that raw, just racing. But I love the middle and long distance too, and each distance provides its own challenges.
Yes.
And I kind of like figuring them out. So right now I'm pretty happy with the middle and long distance, and purely, I think, too, just because I can have my own schedule and race exactly what I want and have that freedom. So it's been a lot of fun. And, yeah, I've been enjoying, really kind of nailing and dialing in the middle distance racing.
What was the full Ironman experience like for you?
Thankfully, it was a good one, because an Ironman, when you don't have a good day, is
a long day.
It felt like a long day when I was, I was like a little under 8 hours. I was like 7:51 or something, and that was long. The last few miles of the marathon were tough, but it was a solo endeavor. Like I swam at the front, but lost some feed. I think it was Andrew who was out there. And, I was riding with a group for like maybe 10 minutes, and then Kristian Blummenfelt just blew everybody up. He's like, I want to ride basically 70.3 pace. And I'm like, that's going to spell disaster for me if I do that. So spent like 100 miles on my own between the bike and the run, and got to, look at my watch a few times, looking at Matt Hansen running me down, going, there's no way he's running, 2:30 pace right now. And he was. And then, it was just playing the game. It was super tactical, because Kristian, if he was going to hold on with Joe Skipper, like there's nothing that I could really do about it, because they had, 4 minutes ahead of me.
Exactly.
And I had almost 10 or more on Matt Hansen, and people are like, you got to go now at like the half marathon. I'm like, no, not right now. I still got a long way to go. So it was a lot of fun, and it was a cool experience to be able to do it, just down the road from my house.
Yeah, and it's like a chess game. You're out there. It's really funny who makes the right move at the right time, or the wrong move and ends up burning too many matches, and they're done.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it was all about just, setting the bar, seeing what I could do, where I could perform, and then this year's we're going to try and take it to the next level.
Challenge Roth.
Exactly. So
Challenge Roth. I mean, you look at the field there; it's like the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just picking all big races this year, this weekend, and then Euro PTO, Roth, all the PTO races. I'd love to race them, and Finland World Champs, trying to get the slot there. So. I mean, Challenge Roth is iconic. It's one that, I think there's always a handful of U.S. guys through the years who have gone to do it, but it's got kind of this mystique and, just something that's a little different that, as U.S. athletes, we don't always know too much about it. So I'm super excited to go, because all you hear are just how great the race is, the crowds, the start list is amazing, and that's my world champs for the full distance this year, since I can't make it to Nice, and then it's all eyes on Kona in 2024.
Well, what's great about that is that you have your build. You have your build to end of June, and then you've got a little gap, and then you build to 70.3 Worlds, and then you and all the PTO races.
Yeah, because those PTO races and 70.3 Worlds are all pretty close together. So it'll be interesting to see which guys decide to do what races, or, if we try and do all three of them. And then after that, it's kind of like a reset, and you might do a couple races at the end of the year just to, drag out the year a little bit, because the following year, with Kona being end of October and 70.3 Worlds being in December, it's a super long year.
When you won this race 2 years ago, and then this last year, I think your time was exactly the same to the second. Then you get fifth to Jackson, and it's Jackson, and it's Alistair, and it's Lionel, and it's Rudy, and yourself. I mean, you look at it and go, my time's exactly the same. It's not like I'm going backwards here, but those guys just had a better race on the day.
Yeah, and I mean, I had positives from that race. It wasn't like a bad race, but I
No.
definitely wasn't happy with it, and just kind of felt stuck in one gear. But we looked back at that race too, and it's going to be interesting to see how I can go on this course with some new run shoes as well, because HOKA at the time didn't have their Rocket X2s out.
Right.
Now they do, and
people are loving those, by the way.
Oh, they're fantastic. I raced my first Ironman and 70.3 Worlds in them, and those were the two races that I kind of really did them justice.
Yes.
And, it's always interesting because the beginning of the year, a lot of guys start off super hot and then they kind of fade away. And some guys kind of build in, and I've always been one to kind of build into the year. But I'm feeling like I'm in, almost as good of a position as I was going into St. George. So
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see, how that training translates to the Oceanside course.
So when you're at 70.3 Worlds, it's Kristian Blummenfelt and yourself. And you certainly weren't intimidated by the moment or the spotlight because you were surging, you were taking off. It was from the viewer on the outside, it's like, yeah, this is my race. This is why I'm here. Kristian's the gold medalist and the Ironman world champion, but that has nothing to do with what I'm going to do here today.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. Like if I'm racing you, I'm going to try and beat you, and
Right.
I'm going to try and win the race. So,
Right.
Obviously, a lot of respect for Kristian.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for all the guys that I race, and it was cool to be able to lead at the front because a lot of people don't peg me as a runner, and I think a lot of people would peg Kristian as a runner.
Right.
And so to lead him and try and play that, kind of another chess game a little bit, it was good. It was a lot of good experience, and I'm super happy with that race, but I'd be happier if I was able to take that top
You were
spot.
winning. Yeah. Very cool. Benny, as always such a pleasure to get to chat with you, my man. I'm looking forward to watching you race here on Saturday.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it too.
And on Sunday, if you're around, come on out to our adaptive surf clinic right here.
Definitely. I got to learn how to surf a little bit so those guys can teach me.
All those little RCF kids can teach you how to surf.
For sure.
It. Ben Kanute has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob from the beautiful Mission Pacific Hotel. Hold on, everybody. We will be right back.